Good morning to you. Welcome back. You are still watching Morning Live. It's the final stretch in terms of your sport news this morning. Now, women in sports seem to be making inroads in what is a male-dominated sport of motorsport. And one such person who is determined to make an impact in the sport is Kirsten Landman. Kirsten, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us in Sports on Morning Live.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
So let's talk motorsport. How does this young girl from Cape Town get into motorsport and eventually get to a point where you pursue it as a career?
I grew up as a little tomboy and always wanted to do whatever the boys were doing, and grew up close with my cousin, and he had a bike, and I fell in love with his motorbike and got my first bike at the age of 8, and ever since then it's literally was love at first sight, and it's all I've ever known since a young age. And going through school was priority, and then got a gap year and started studying, and my parents were like, if you want to make it happen, you've got to make it happen. But obviously through their support throughout school helped me to be able to have the bike and go to races. But you know, passion turned into a career, and here I am now.
And here you are now. I've spoken to a number of women in sport who say for them it's a bittersweet moment being the first to do something, because it means those that came before you just weren't able to get it right. But we look at you, the first woman to finish the Red Bull Romania X, the Sea to Sky Megawatt 111, the first to finish the Dakar out in Saudi Arabia, and for that not just in terms of South African but the continent. How does it feel for you to be able to have those major achievements that so many have probably tried before you to have?
Oh, it's you know, we're taken aback as a little 8-year-old girl who dreamt of being a professional sportswoman. I would never have believed this could have been achieved. But you know, being one of the many few to have done it and not have had anyone to look up to at a young age, you know, I probably wouldn't have believed it. But you know, now for the younger kids in the generation to look up to someone like this, it can be done, especially in a male-dominated sport. So when you ask me how it feels, I don't have the words to tell you how it feels, because at the end of the day, I'm just doing what I love to do, and that's ride a motorbike. And I've been able to travel the world and race in places like Saudi Arabia, Romania, Turkey. I mean, I've seen the most beautiful places in the world, and it's just doing what I love to do, and I'm just really proud to be able to have done it the way I have, and obviously represent South Africa and Africa on the world stage.
The first woman from Africa to finish the Dakar Rally. Talk to me about that Dakar Rally experience for you.
Wow, it's the biggest off-road event in the world for trucks, cars, side-by-sides, and it's the biggest because it's the toughest. And to get there alone, no one just decides that they want to go to the Dakar. It takes a really long time. I mean, my Dakar, once my whole life of racing, I only decided at the late age of 29, which isn't late, it's young, but you know, it's like that to make that decision, you kind of have to become really wise and really experienced in it, because it's 14 days of racing. You're averaging 10 hours a day on the bike. It's 9,000 kilometers over 14 days. It's physically grueling, it's mentally exhausting. It's the pinnacle of the sport, but also it's the toughest, and the sense of accomplishment once you've done it, it's just like this wave of emotion, of relief. But you're like, I've done it, now what?
Yeah.
Have a break, and you want to get going for it again. So I mean, that's why I'm sitting here now, hopefully to go back for my third Dakar.
That is absolutely amazing. So when you sit now and you look at your career, I want us to go into the now what moments, because you say you're looking forward to your next Dakar, but what else is it that you still want to do and want to achieve? And I know you speak about when you were a young girl, you had no one to look up to, but now you've got all the other young girls looking up to you. They want to know what's next for Kirsten, so that I can know that when I get there, this is the path that I want to follow.
So yeah, what's next is, I mean, I've really reached the pinnacle in terms of motorsport racing, but I want to keep going back. Obviously, I would like to do really well in the female category in the moto category at Dakar. I mean, my first one I came third, my second one I came second, so there's only one more spot. Yeah, I just want to keep pushing the boundaries for women in sports. I want to keep flying the flag for South Africa, and you know, women empowerment, and you know, not just within sport, but that we can do anything we set our minds to, especially being in a male-dominated sport. And then, you know, eventually the transition from motorbikes, I say, as you get a bit wiser and older, you go into four wheels. So I've put it out there before, saying that I want to start racing in the cars. And then your career is a lot longer, because it's a lot safer and it's not so physically demanding. So I'll always be involved in motorsport. It's in my blood. It's all I've ever known. It's what I enjoy. So you know, I'm going to keep it along with that, and yeah, just hopefully keep inspiring the younger girls. And you know, I do train in schools and stuff like that. So it'll keep doing the same thing, and hopefully I'll be able to race as long as I can, you know, as long as my body allows me to, and that's just it, doing what I do best and what I love most.
I love it when an athlete says that, as long as my body allows me to. And unfortunately, we can't have a conversation about women in sport without speaking to the financial aspect of it. How challenging do you find that to be? I mean, is it your commercial partners that are assisting you so that you're able to do all the races you want to partake in? How has that been for you from a financial point of view?
So I'm fully sponsor aligned. Like from bikes to kits, because it's not a cheap sport, you know, so everything from, you know, everything you see on the bike, it's fully sponsor aligned, but then you've got stuff like entries that need to be paid for, travel, accommodation, and all of that counts. And, you know, competing overseas, we're competing with the rand to euro, which makes it even more difficult. So I do tend to partner with big corporates, you know, and obviously the alignment along with women in motorsport, and the synergy in motorsport they have to enjoy, you know, so that's what I tend to look for in a sponsor. But I mean, you know, any support helps, and I've been very fortunate. My first Dakar, I had a once-off sponsor with Rugby Africa, and then second one with ASP Rope Access, which is a blessing. It's not often you hear of someone coming in with an all-in sponsor. So here we sit now, hopefully going to Dakar 2025 and looking for sponsorship. The money, it's a lot of money, and going as a privateer makes it even more difficult because you need the support. Yes, you see me standing on my own on the bike, but I've got a massive team behind me, you know, from media to my partner, my family, my friends, and then the sponsors is the biggest part. You know, I need to be able to get to the start to race, and I can't do that without sponsorship.
All right, well, we know that 2025, that sponsorship is coming, all fully paid for once again. Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Thank you for having me.